You're here seeking a pardon with restoration of firearms. You were sentenced in East Baton Rouge Parish, April 7th, 1993 for obscenity. You received a 3-year DOC sentence that was deferred. You were placed on 3 years probation. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you answer Ms. Jackson, please?
Good morning, Ms. Papillon. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Ms. Jackson. Very, very nervous, but I'm okay. I am well.
That's understandable. I just want to talk to you about some issues related to your case. So just, relax and we'll talk about those issues. You were arrested in June of 92 and July of 93 for obscenity. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you pled guilty, how many counts did you plead to?
2.
So you pled guilty to each count of obscenity, and you completed your term of supervision in 1996. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll tell you, Ms. Papillon, obscenity cases are troubling because often they're reflective of some psychological issues involved with that type of offense. So I don't mean to embarrass you in any way, but could you please talk to us about what was going on and why you were committing these crimes?
Oh, boy. Well, after counseling,
Just tell me, you indicated that part of it was you were drinking at the time, but what are some other things that might have been involved for you committing these crimes?
I would have to say, and identity issues. I had some identity issues. You see, I was adopted as an infant, okay, which is a beautiful thing. But when you grow up in a small town with a population of about 300, and you're either white or you're black, and it's like I just didn't feel like I fit in it anywhere, and I think that's the root cause. Identity issues.
Why would that manifest itself in exposing yourself?
Yeah. Like I said, I was adopted, and I know my biological father. He and my mother had, according to her, had a consensual relationship. But at the time, she was 14 and he was 28. I don't know if there's any correlation or not, but I'm trying to answer your question as honestly as I possibly can.
Let's move forward a little bit. I did see in your application that you said you completed therapy either as part of your sentence or after you were convicted. What kind of therapy were you referring to?
Oh, well, I really don't know exactly what it's called, the psychologically or psychiatric, but I did volunteer to do counseling, and then it was.
Was it geared specifically to your compulsion to expose yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you learn during that counseling about your compulsion to expose yourself? What did you learn about the disorder? And more importantly, what did you learn about managing it?
I learned that that's probably the most insulting thing that a man can do to a woman. And I had to come to terms with that. And what's the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Well, I was a judge for 28 years here in Baton Rouge. And I would often have individuals charged with obscenity. And it was not unusual for those individuals to repeat that behavior over and over again. And one of the things that I learned is that it's on the spectrum of obsessive disorders. And so the individuals would have very difficult times controlling that compulsion, and they would reoffend repeatedly. And my question to you is, what did you learn about your disorder, and what did you learn about how to control those urges?
I guess the biggest lesson was staying out of jail. There's no way in the world that I want to end up back there.
And nobody does. But let's just say if you were being, we'll talk about your substance abuse treatment, but for a substance abuse disorder, you learn about things that trigger your desire to drink or use alcohol, and to learn how to avoid those triggers. My question to you is, in your therapy for your obscenity charge, did you learn what kind of things put you at risk of having that urge to expose yourself? And what are some things that you can do so that you don't give in to those urges?
I'm really not sure what you're asking.
I find out, what did you learn in therapy when you went to therapy about your exposing yourself? What did they teach you? How did they help you so that this doesn't happen again? I mean, a lot of people go to jail and they don't want to come back, but that doesn't stop them from reoffending. So I'm trying to get from you, if you can, to tell me what, if anything, you got out of your therapy related to your obscenity.
Okay, I think I understand what you're asking now. Actually, if my recollection is adequate, I mean, it was more or less me speaking to them versus them asking me questions. So I was pretty much just opening up and talking to them. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
All right. Are you an alcoholic, Mr. Papillon?
Well, technically, yes.
You broke up a little bit.
I said
You're-
technically, yes.
You say technically, what does technically mean?
Well, according to the
Everybody
rules, I
say-
mean,
Right, you either are or you aren't.
well, I mean, I drink socially.
But when's the last time you drank?
New Year's Eve.
Because as I was reading your file, one of the comments that you made is that you have been sober for 2 years. So when somebody says they have been sober for 2 years, one, that means that they were an alcoholic. A lot of times they were not sober. You yourself said you were sober for 2 years, which suggests to me that you had a drinking problem. And now you're telling me that you drank New Year's Eve. So that's concerning to me. You know, when you applied, you said you were sober for 2 years, and now it seems you're back to consuming alcohol, and when you describe the incidences that you're seeking a pardon for, you indicated that alcohol played a role in exposing yourself. And so I'm not clear where you are or where your thinking is about your substance abuse issue. And alcohol is a substance. So please speak to me about that.
Well, it's not something that I do, on a regular basis.
It is, when did you go through treatment for alcohol?
I have never had substance abuse treatment.
Again, because I thought I saw that.
Ma'am,
Hold on, please. So you've never considered, when you say you're technically an alcoholic, because those were your words again, what does that mean to you when you say technically you're an alcoholic?
well, I think that's what we're taught. We're taught that if you drink on a regular basis,
Who taught you
you're an
that?
alcoholic. Ma'am, I don't
Who
think
taught you?
anybody taught me that specifically, but that's what I understand.
Well, in your mind, tell me what you think an alcoholic is.
In my mind, I would have to say someone that drinks every day.
Okay. And because you don't drink every day, you feel like you're not an alcoholic, is that correct?
Not technically.
Well, I'm looking at the pre-parole, the clemency application investigation. And I'm just looking at some statements that you made, Mr. Papillon. I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. At this time, Mr. Papillon stated that he previously drank alcohol and has been sober now for several years. And again, when someone uses the phrase, I'm sober now, that indicates to me that previously you had a problem with alcohol and that you've turned away from the use of alcohol because you recognize that alcohol was a problem for you. Is that a correct statement of what you meant or not?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Well, what caused you to think you had a problem with alcohol to begin with?
I guess, if anyone submits to any kind of chemical, I think that would be a problem.
What do you mean by submits to? Because some
Well,
people drink from time to time, but alcohol isn't a problem for them.
And that's how I feel about myself. I don't think it's a problem for me either, but I'm just trying to answer your question.
I'm not trying to trip you up, Mr. Papillon. I'm just trying to get into your head and find out what you're thinking. Because on the one hand, you say technically you're an alcoholic. And then in the next breath, you say you're not an alcoholic. In your application, you say you've been sober for 2 years. And now you're saying, well, I drink occasionally, I drink socially. And I'm just trying to find out which one it is because you're giving two contradictory statements about your drinking. And I'm just not clear where you are.
I would have to say at that time, when I committed those offenses, I
I'm
did
talking
have an
about
alcohol
now.
problem.
Talking about
Yeah.
now. I'm talking
Oh.
about.
I don't think I have an alcohol problem now. It's something that I don't do very often. So I don't know how else to answer that question.
We'll move on, Mr. Papillon. Now tell us why you are seeking a pardon to begin with.
Whew, so many
Let me ask
reasons.
What kind of work are you doing?
I am a licensed realtor, licensed by the Louisiana Real Estate Commission
And how long have you been a realtor?
since 2011.
And prior to that, what did you do?
I was a bricks, block, and stone masonry contractor
And
for
how long?
16 years.
How many? 15
16 years.
years? And so this conviction has not interfered with your ability to obtain and maintain employment. And you actually were able to get a realtor's license, is that correct?
Yes, if you want to survive on sales, that is correct. But if I apply for a job, that's a different scenario.
Or have you applied for jobs and been declined background check?
Absolutely, I sure have. And
What was the most recent job you applied for and you were turned down?
that I was turned down.
When was the last time you applied for a job and you were turned down because of a background check?
Oh, right after I graduated from college.
How long ago was that?
I graduated from Purdue University online in 2020 with a bachelor's degree in legal support and services.
Okay. And so tell us why you need a pardon, Mr. Papillon.
Why do I need a pardon? For so many reasons.
Give us a few.
First of all, I am embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. But the most important reason is because I've insulted people. I've insulted my victims. I've insulted my ex-wife, and thankfully, she's still my friend. My daughter. I have a beautiful 28-year-old daughter that if she ever finds out about this, that would destroy me. So I can imagine what the mother and father of those children were feeling when I committed those crimes.
You indicated in your application something about the desire to go to law school. And that was the reason you were seeking a pardon. You haven't addressed that, Mr. Papillon.
I didn't understand. I'm sorry.
I said in your application, one of the reasons you expressed for wanting a pardon was so that you could go to law school. And you didn't address that when I asked you why you needed a pardon.
I failed. I just nervous. And
Well, now you have the opportunity to do that.
absolutely, law school is my ultimate dream. And my ultimate job is with the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union.
Okay. Well, you're a long way from that. You haven't even been accepted into a law school. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, I have not even taken the LSAT yet.
Okay.
I'm working on that.
So it's not something that's imminent, shall we say?
Well, at my age, everything is imminent.
Well, but in terms of the process,
Right.
first you have to LSAT, have to apply, then you have to get accepted somewhere, then you have to complete the curriculum, take the bar and pass the bar exam. before this even becomes a real issue for you.
That's true.
All right, well, Ms. Papillon, I also know that there was no express opposition to your request. And I appreciate you talking to me, and Chairman Renan, so that's all I have.
Thank you, thank you. I don't see any other questions. So could we hear from Ms. Stacy Meadows, please?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Stacy Meadows. I am a friend and ex-wife of Gino. I have been knowing Gino since 1985. We married in 1991, we divorced in 2002, and here we still remain friends. We have a daughter, and we have reared her and supporting each other. And I continue to support him in his goals and his aspirations in life, just as he has done me along the way. And basically, I'm here today requesting from the board a pardon for him. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't see any other questions of you, Ms. Meadows, so we'll move on. And I'd like to ask Mr. Papillon, is there a statement you'd like to make before we turn it over to Ms. Palmentier? You're on mute still.
I just want to humbly request a pardon. You know, I was, if I can leave us with this. In the book of Mark, chapter 11, verse 25, and when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive your sins. So I'm just throwing myself on your mercy.
Sir, thank you. Ms. Palmentier.
All right, thank you, Madam Chairman. I want to start, I think Mr. Papillon is having a difficult time articulating to the board what we had recently discussed and what he has disclosed to me. And I'll start with when Mr. Papillon was on probation and he reoffended, the Honorable Curtis Calloway added a special condition that he obtain treatment with Dr. Donald Poppy. Mr. Papillon has completed this treatment for mental health issues that he was having at the time that I believe were somewhat of a situational factors that played a part in this. What Mr. Papillon failed to mention is at the time these offenses occurred, he had recently gotten married. He had been married for about 1 year, and as he was trying to convey to the board, he was struggling with his identity issues and playing that role of the husband and no longer having that freedom for attention with others, and was as a result he exposed himself. And so he completed this treatment successfully, and his probation was terminated satisfactory. Since 1993, Mr. Papillon has remained arrest and conviction free. Mr. Papillon has continued to better himself in his education by obtaining his associate's degree and bachelor's degree in applied science and legal support services. His cumulative GPA for his bachelor's was a 3.63. And Your Honor, Judge Jackson, I know that you had mentioned that he wasn't ripe for law school, but Mr. Papillon's taken all of these steps to reach his goal of law school. He is right for taking the LSAT and applying for law school at this point. And, it will clearly help him if he has a pardon of these offenses on his record to pass the character and fitness and all of this that is very imminent in my opinion. For his substance abuse, when I spoke with Mr. Papillon about any alcohol issues he had, he recognizes that at the time of the offense, 30 years ago, yes, he had alcohol issues. He stopped drinking for a long period of time, and only recently has he started occasionally drinking a beer or two every now and then. He has indicated to me that he does not have an alcohol problem, but and just to be complete, after I was reviewing the record, the police reports, his application, in order to be complete, I asked Mr. Papillon to submit to a substance abuse evaluation that should be in the board's records or materials. He completed this evaluation, and I submitted these results to you as part of his application. The evaluation classified him as having, quote, a low probability of substance use disorder. So although he's not very well at articulating that to the board, I don't think that he is an alcoholic or that's his primary concern that hasn't been addressed at this point. And I think one of the things that has stopped Mr. Papillon from having reoffended or anything for the last 30 years is that in October of 1993, you heard him mention that he fathered his first and only child. His daughter, Olivia, is the center of his universe. She was born with autism, and she falls on the spectrum in the area we used to call Asperger's syndrome. Mr. Papillon and Miss Stacy are great parents to Olivia. And Olivia was born, I think, like a year after these offenses occurred. And in closing, it was 30 years ago that Mr. Papillon had the alcohol issues and impulse control issues. He got help from Dr. Hoppy. He's found direction in his life. He's worked and provided for his family without any other incident. And we're respectfully asking this honorable board to grant his request for recommendation to the governor for clemency and restore all of his rights, including restoration of firearms. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think the board is prepared to vote. Ms. Jackson?
Yes. Ms. Papillon, I have to say that this is a difficult case, not merely because of the nature of the offense, but I will tell you that some of your responses caused me concern. It really did. Because of what I know about people who commit the crimes of obscenity, I know that it's kind of compulsive behavior, and there has to be some recognition of that and some understanding of the things that trigger that urge. And there has to be some control mechanism to be able to deal with those urges. On the other hand, you have not been rearrested for any offenses, which I think is an indication that you probably have not continued to engage in this conduct, because it would be very unusual if you were still engaging in this conduct not to have gotten arrested for it over the last 20-something years. I'm also concerned about your responses regarding your drinking. And even though I do see the assessment by the substance abuse counselor, although they say you have a low probability of having a substance abuse disorder, they do recommend that you not consume alcohol. And it concerns me that you had gone, 20 years without drinking, and now all of a sudden, you start on that slippery slope. You start drinking again. I don't understand why after so many years you feel it necessary to start drinking again. And so those are things that concern me. They really do. But on the other hand, you know, you completed your sentence, you got the first offender pardon, you've not been in any other difficulty. You've maintained employment and you've expressed a desire to enroll in law school. Whether that happened or not, I don't know. But Mr. Papillon, I'm going to vote to recommend a pardon to the governor with restoration of firearms, and I'm only one vote, so that's my vote today.
Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Papillon, good morning. Mr. Papillon, I have major concerns. I have major concerns about your alcohol issues. You answered Ms. Jackson's question very tentatively. You self-admitted that you've never had any substance abuse treatment. For years and years without drinking alcohol, and in your application, you made a statement that you had issues, but you hadn't had anything to drink in the last 2 years or the past 2 years. Then today you tell Ms. Jackson that you had alcoholic beverages on New Year's Eve. Alcohol issues, along with the nature of your crime, raises all kind of red flags for me. There's nothing to stop you in the future from getting intoxicated and committing the acts that you committed many years ago. When you become intoxicated, you lose all inhibitions. There is a reason why an apartment complex, an employer, anyone dealing with any activity volunteering with children, there's a reason why they do a criminal background check to see exactly what you have in that criminal history, to alert them to the potential possibility that there may be a problem, especially when dealing with young children, whether you volunteer to be a baseball coach or a religion teacher, they do a criminal background check. And if I vote today to recommend a pardon, I would be condoning and approving that being removed from your criminal record. And I can't do that this morning. Based upon a potential risk to public safety, alcohol issues, my vote is to deny your request.
Mr. Arabella?
Mr. Papillon, I have the same concerns as Judge Jackson and Mr. Roche. And I realize that we live in a society where drinking is very commonplace. It's probably not unusual for you to have a drink at New Year's. You were very honest in that assessment. You could have said, no, I didn't have anything to drink. You have gone in excess of 20 years without any criminal offenses. You seem to address whatever was going on with you at that time, although you were having difficulty, I believe, articulating it. While I do possess those concerns, my vote today would be to recommend to the governor that he grant pardon with the full restoration of firearms. I would caution you in the future to be very careful about your drinking. I wouldn't drink if I were you. You indicated in your files that you were abusing alcohol. You may not be, as you say, technically a alcoholic, but when you drink, things go bad. There's a saying in AA, you know, I didn't always get in trouble when I was drinking, but every time I got in trouble, I was drinking. So you need to be, you know, very careful about that, you know. So my vote today would be, I'm just one of 4. Would be my vote. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Papillon, I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said. My vote today would be to recommend pardon with the full restoration of firearms because of the work that you've done. You know, you have no arrest, there's no express opposition. But sir, today it requires a unanimous vote. So you've received 1 vote to deny, 3 votes to grant. So the outcome of today's proceeding is that your application's been denied. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, board. Y'all have a nice day.
What a bizarre interview. Uh, I just felt like, whoa, what am I listening to? I mean, Miss Jackson did such a great job. I love Miss Jackson interviews. I like to go through the research and just pick out Miss Jackson interviews to do them, even regardless of the case. And you know, she really like did this, and it was even. I just couldn't believe that she granted after hearing the way that the interview went. I mean, that means that you would have to simply chalk it up to that he is a terrible interviewer. And I do get what she said by, hey, this happened in 1992 and 1993. It's been a long time. It's been 30 years. And he has nothing on his record. And if he would have done something, you know, if this was true to his nature, you'd have to assume that over 30 years, because it's a compulsive thing, like she said. You know, she brought up that it's very scary. Someone who does this has deep-rooted issues. But like Mr. Roche said about the alcohol, it's that slippery path. If you're going to go and drink and lower your inhibitions, and then you're just that one step away from, again, that kind of like compulsive disorder that really makes no sense, that you're not going to be able to control. And that's what blew me away when Mr. Marabella granted, out of all people, Mr. AA Program Marabella. I could not believe it. I mean, you know, it's what he said. Hey, I know that I'm taught that we're supposed to be always addicts, but I'm not really always an addict. I did, yeah, he was being honest, but at the same time, this is something that I expected Marabella to just jump down his throat, and he did not do that. It's so certainly, yeah, that shocked me. I mean, it was 3 votes to grant, 1 vote to deny, and they needed a unanimous verdict because there's only 4 members, not 5. When it's 5 members, you can have 1 deny and 4 to get a recommendation to the governor. You know, it is like Ms. Jackson said, it is a difficult. I think it is a difficult case because you have someone go 30 years without doing anything wrong. You have to say, even though it's a creepy thing that he did, and even though he had a terrible interview, but the alcohol, it was the wrench in it for me. especially if he said that he hasn't been drinking, but now he's starting up again. And then he still probably could have had a perfect interview and he would have gotten it. And he didn't. And then I don't think his attorney did him any favors. I mean, for one thing, it didn't seem that he was prepared, but maybe that's not her job. For two, it seemed that she said things contrary to what he said. Again, he said that he maybe was doing it because he was adopted and that gave him identity issues. And she said on the closing argument that he did it because he had just gotten married and that gave him identity issues. So to have your two different stories as to why he did it, I mean, clearly, I can't understand identity issues. I get that being adopted, and everything that entails can certainly cause a lot of trauma. But I guess at that point, it shouldn't really make. I mean, what difference does it make? Why it's happening? The fact is that it's happening. But it seems that even with all the years of therapy, that he still doesn't really understand it. And maybe that's just being honest. At least I think that at least you can say, in the sense that he had a good interview, is that he seemed to be authentic. I know that's a strange thing to say, being that there seems to be a lot of contradictions. I mean, but maybe authentic's the wrong word. He's not a good manipulator. Is I guess what I was leaning at. You can come in and have a perfect interview, and it's like, oof, you might have had a perfect interview, but I feel like you're just a really good manipulator, and I don't like that. But like even Miss Jackson said, well, why do you want the pardon? And one of the reasons was you wanted to be a lawyer, but you haven't made the steps to being a lawyer. Now, on that note, let's jump into a Connecticut pardon hearing. You may have already seen this. I have a second channel called Man Do Too. I'm going to put a link to it. This, in my opinion, the Connecticut makes me appreciate Louisiana so much more, and I think you might as well, because the way that they view the pardons, I mean, this guy would have hit it out of the park as far as they were concerned. So let's jump into that, and then after that one, we're going to do one more, which is about a Louisiana corrupt mayor that did the craziest things when he lost his rebid after serving for something like 25 years as mayor. He basically fired the entire staff, gave everyone severance. This is the day before he had to leave office, including himself, a full year of severance, so that when the new mayor showed up, he had no staff. And this mayor is coming in for a pardon. So we're going to do two more hearings, one from Connecticut, and then we're going to come back to Louisiana. And thank you, Richard, of course, for putting together all of this research, because we don't have research on this case, but we're going to dive into research on the mayor case. So with that, let's buckle up and let's jump in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon the penalty of perjury?
Yes,
Can you say I do, please?
I do.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Brown, can you please state your name for the board?
Cornell Brown.
And you may now explain why you believe you are suitable for an absolute pardon.
Well, I feel suitable for the pardon because, like, I'm a role model to kids. Ever since my charge has been since I was 21, and I'm 31 now. So, I really learned my lesson from then to now, and it feels like ever since the charges, it feels like I've been actually still being like whooped on because of the charges. Actually, it feel like I'm still going through the same thing, not getting jobs for them, it was like doing odd jobs so to take care of my kids and stuff like that. I just want to get back into living in a world is, without still feeling like I was 21.
Mr. Brown, why are we fighting with everyone?
Say it again.
Why are you fighting with everyone?
What you mean fighting with who?
Back in the day, it seemed like you were fighting with everybody.
Oh
All your
yeah,
offenses. Were we
because
so
I
angry?
was because I was angry child. Didn't really have my parents. I was living with my aunt as a child, so like the transition to my mother's house was kind of crazy. So I was still kind of going through that, and so I was like 21, got in trouble.
Mhm. So, well, yeah. How did you turn it around? Did you take any programming, domestic violence, anger management, anything like that?
Yeah, I took anger management, domestic violence classes. I even got my OSHA. I got my high school diploma. Was going to college for a few years. Did barbering school. I've done a lot of things.
Yeah. So you feel like you've grown and matured over these past 9 years.
Yes.
So, what are you doing for work now, sir?
Right now, I'm doing barbering. Like I'm just doing that like really at my house right now because it's like as I told you, like the felonies kind of stopping me from getting like the jobs I actually want to go out and get.
What is it that you want to do, sir?
What I really wanted to be like right now, I just wanted to enjoy my early 20 years. I just wanted to enjoy that, but I can't enjoy that now.
What do you want to do for work? If you were granted,
Work,
where?
if for anything, I could do anything for work. Really, I'm not really in like it. Don't. I could do any type of work. Really.
Well, but you just said you can't really apply to the jobs you want to apply for because of your criminal
Yeah,
record. So if you didn't have one, where would you apply?
I applied to anywhere right now. I had to have a real job. So
Okay.
I will apply anywhere.
Okay. All right, Ms. Turner.
Do I understand, Mr. Brown, you didn't finish barbering school?
Yes, I didn't finish it.
How come?
I had a son at the time, so I was basically like a stay at home dad at the point.
Do you still have a son?
Yes, I got two sons.
Okay, so what are their ages?
One is 11 and my youngest is 6.
Okay, so they're in school, so you don't have
Yeah.
to stay home and save on daycare. So I think where my colleague was going is, what do you aspire to do? Do you have life goals?
Yes, I have a lot of life
Okay,
goals.
so talk to me about them that relate to providing for your family and, expanding your horizons.
Like at the point, I was saying, I was going to college, and that was for child development. I was doing that. Then when I found out that my felony wouldn't let me get that job, I had to stop that. And then it was a point, like you said, I was going to barbering school, and then it felt like when I got to a certain point and I was going to open up my own business and stuff like this, they was telling me, oh, I can't do this because of my felonies or all of this. So I had to stop doing that at a point. So once I stopped that, I wound up doing like,
okay, so I'm not talking about the past now, Mr. Cornell. I'm talking about Brown, excuse me. I'm talking about your future. What is it that you want to invest your time and your energy in to create for yourself and your family?
I want to do a lot of stuff. I don't know. Like, I'm 31. I don't know. Like, I still have a lot of time on my hands. Like, I don't know what I really want to
ticking.
do.
I mean, your kids are getting older, and I guess I'm just not really understanding if you want to pardon for employment reasons, and I'm trying to pin you down on what that is.
Yeah, because right now being 21, trying to look for jobs to being 31 now, you go through a lot. It's not like I talk to the victims. It's not like I go through the things with victims. I don't even talk to them. Only victim it was like my son's mom. But other than that, like we kind of cool. But other than that, I'm trying to do as best as I can as a man.
Okay,
I
well,
don't have
you're gonna
order.
go back out into the job market if you're granted a pardon. And the issue isn't gonna be that you have a record, the issue is gonna be you haven't worked for the last 10 years. So you're gonna have to account for that to make you an attractive candidate to hire, and you just jumping around to different things that you like to do or that you're able to do from here to there. I saw you're driving for Uber. And just, you're 31, it's time to get a focus is all I'm saying. I have no more questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Chance.
So, Mr. Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
just listening to you, it doesn't sound like you have any ambition to do anything. You think 31 is very young and that you think you have a lot of time before you have to decide what you want to do. So why can't you figure that at age 31?
Ma'am, like I said, I was 21 at the time. So, like, when I did have something that I really wanted to do, that felony stopped me from doing that. So I couldn't do that. It's like certain things I couldn't do because of the felony. Now that I'm getting to a point where I'm trying to do something that I like,
Brown,
alternatives and stuff like that.
Mr. Brown, what it is that you wanted to do that you weren't allowed to do?
Really, I just want to work with kids and stuff. Like I don't like, that's what was the first point of me doing the child development.
Do what?
I gotta be a teacher. I could do anything. I gotta get to it. I can't tell you what I really want to be until I get into what I have to do. Right now, I can't do that without a pardon. I can't do that without a pardon.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
You have to, most people figure out what they have to do, what they want to do or love to do, and then figure out what it is that they need to do to accomplish that. You seem to be doing it backwards. There are a lot of people that I know that have gone to barbering school and completed and will come before us and say, well, if I get a pardon, I just need to apply for the state licensure. Okay?
Yes, ma'am, but I don't have, that's the point of me not having the pardon. If I don't have a pardon, I'm not going to be able to
you
do anything I could do.
You don't really want to be a barber. You say you would like to be a teacher. But
yes, I wanted to go back to the first thing I did.
What have you done? What is the requirements to work with children or be a teacher?
My girlfriend, she does pageants, so I usually, when it was anytime she done pageants and stuff like that, I would help her do the pageants. I just did a thing with Donald. Is a dude that lives out here. I guess he does things with kids and stuff like that. It was like an art show. I'd help them do the art show. Because I've done a lot of things with kids.
What specifically do you do when you helping with the art show?
I engage with the kids, help them do the art, help them do whatever they need to do.
So is that what you want to teach, or you want to go in a classroom?
Like I just want to do things with kids, like not just teach. I just want to be like a role model for kids, like to help them be better.
So if you want to help them,
I could even be a social worker, whatever. I could do a lot. I just haven't really been given that chance.
Yes, you have, because the pardon shouldn't stop you if you want to be a social worker to go to school. And the only thing left, I just heard from a gentleman who went and got his master's degree. He talked about getting his 4-year degree, his master's degree, and today he's applying for a pardon. So I really don't understand at age 31 what it is that you want to do, Mr. Brown. So that's my big struggle. Madam
But is
Chair,
that
I'm
gonna-
all set. I don't know what else I can ask this gentleman.
Okay, all right.
But that would stop. But I have a question.
Go ahead.
But that would stop me from getting a pardon. I haven't been in trouble. I haven't done nothing to nobody. I've been doing everything I can. It's not like I'm sitting here selling drugs. I'm not going to jail. I'm not doing a lot of things a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm still being looked at like, oh, because I don't know what to do. Like I just told you, there's been a lot of stoppage in my time. There's been a lot of stoppage.
Yeah.
And I can't just stop. I can't just stop doing all the stuff I have to do. I got 2 kids. I still have to support them. No matter what. If I go to school, that's not supporting my kids.
Yeah.
If I don't got no jobs, I ain't supporting my kids.
We
So
understand.
at the end of the day, I'm still making choices. I'm still making choices, even bad choices, because I could be at these jobs that's not paying me nothing, working under the table to get hurt, to still not be able to take care of my kids. It'd be crazy, right? That don't make no sense, right?
Right.
So I would still have to try as I'm 31. If I get my pardon, I could have better choices. I have more choices and better choices.
Okay, Mr. Brown. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt you because we've already talked about this. We're going around in circles now. We just wanted to ask you if you had dreams and goals. That's all.
Yes, I have dreams and goals, man, but a lot of my dreams and goals is being stopped by a felony.
Yeah.
If I didn't have this felony, I would have been already know what I wanted to do. Everything would be all lined up. I wouldn't have these stoppage in my road. None of that. I would be where I want to be.
So we're going to discuss your case now, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So, maybe there's a little lack of motivation. Maybe there's some immaturity because of the stoppages that he's referring to. I don't see that as necessarily a reason not to grant the pardon. I would support the pardon today.
Yes, he's been 8 years without, reoffending, and he's
right. There are some
family persons. So
yes. All right. In the matter of Cornell Brown, I move to grant a full and absolute pardon. Ms. Turner?
I
Ms. Chance? Aye. My vote is aye. The pardon is granted. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know about you. This is new to me, this whole Connecticut pardon hearing thing. But let me just put it this way, and thank you, Miss Rose, for sending me this. She said, hey, Mandy, you have to check this out. And I'm glad I did, because I don't know. Here, let me just. What is the purpose of having the hearing? That's my point. What is the purpose? I don't even know if this microphone is working. What is the purpose of having the hearing? I mean, why don't you just have it so that that you just input your information into a form and it sees that you don't have any new felonies or convictions, and it gives you the pardon? Why have the hearing? That was a horrible interview. There was nothing in that interview that would say, oh, this person is deserving to have their record expunged. So if the only criteria is that you haven't gotten a new felony or conviction, then why have the hearing? I'm totally for getting a record expunged, having a felony has got to be just, it's already hard enough to be successful in life, but now to have that, but he didn't, there was nothing there that they were looking to see. That was frankly a bad interview. I think he admitted to working under the table, to doing, I mean, basically just not seeing anything through, saying that he hasn't done anything for the past 10 years because he didn't feel that he can do any. I mean, it was, come on, we saw the same hearing. So it's just bizarre. It's bizarre for me to see this. In Louisiana, it's like they want to see someone who has their act together. They want to see someone who is more than just you and me. It's someone who is really like, who has come back against kind of all odds and has accomplished a lot and has really made a significant difference and change. And it's very apparent when you see it. And sometimes you'll see someone who's made major changes, but they'll say, you know what, it's been 6 years or it's been 8 years, but we want to see a longer period of time. And I mean, again, I'll be a broken record, but if the only criteria is that you don't have another felony, then why even have the interview? I'll have to watch more of these. Maybe they do deny some people, but I can't imagine a case where they would, because how can you have a worse interview? I mean, he basically just said is the last 9 years, he hasn't had a job. He hasn't done anything because of the felony. And when they say, well, you want to work with kids, you don't, it doesn't make a difference. You can go through school, you can get the degree. We've had people that come and say, look, I have my degree, I want to go teach. Let me, and okay, there it is. It's we live in a paradox world, I think, or maybe it's, it could be that maybe we can find it. Maybe there's a memo or a mission statement of the Connecticut Parole Board that would be helpful to read so we can understand what they're thinking. But that, again, I'll come back to the same thing I said 8 times already. Why even have the hearing? But man, here's another thing off topic. When I hear a fully grown man say that they're working at a pageant, I'm just going to, is that like a beauty pageant for kids? And I'm just like, it's sad that I've seen, with all the terrible things we've seen doing these hearings. But in my opinion, it's like, if you're working with kids, especially like a beauty pageant, you're either like a saint or you're the extreme opposite of that. I don't know if there's like a middle ground. You might say I'm crazy. I mean, it's just my opinion. I have a relative that is actually like runs a school for teenage girls that are troubled. It's like a private, these are kids who are kicked out of other schools. And it's like the same, even he's like a pillar in the community. He's, but I was like, either he's a saint or something, and it's just sad because I know it's a controversial thing for me to say, but I guess I'm just, I've kind of lost faith in humanity. I'll tell you, I would not want an adult man anywhere near my kids at a pageant. That's just me, period. But okay, well, yeah. Who would have ever thought we'd be so excited to take a trip back to Louisiana, and that's what we're gonna do. Let's hop back into Louisiana to view this case, the one I mentioned about the mayor seeking a pardon. This one is definitely a wild ride, in my opinion. We'll unpack it at the end. Also, if you haven't subscribe to the second channel where we cover many different hearings, but with the heavy load on Connecticut, please do. I'll put the link in the description. With that, let's jump in.
The OC number is 575294. You're here this morning requesting a pardon with restoration of firearms. You were sentenced January 24, 2011 in Washita Parish for a malfeasance in office conviction. You're sentenced 5 years hard labor that was suspended, and you were placed on 5 years probation. Is that information correct?
That is.
All right, Mr. Roche.
Good morning, Mr. Harris.
Good morning, sir.
Good. My name is Alvin Roche, and I'll be asking you a couple of questions, okay?
Yes, sir, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Harris, you
Yes,
were
sir.
convicted in 2011, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And this offense occurred in 2008, is that correct?
I didn't understand that question about 208.
The offense, the malfeasance in office happened in 2008, is that correct?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Now, prior to this offense, you were in an election in 2007 or 2008, is that correct?
I was elected in 208. No, that's not correct. 208
Oh,
was the
sir,
last.
sir, you were in an election in
Oh,
2008.
Yes, that is correct. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
And your opponent was named Hunter, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
What was the result of the election?
Officer Hunter won. I lost that election.
And how many terms did you serve before you lost the election in 2008?
25 years.
So you were what, 6 terms?
24 years as the mayor, 1 year as the town clerk.
So basically you have been elected 6 times.
Yes, sir.
So how did you feel about being defeated after serving 6 terms as mayor of Bridgewood?
Yes, sir.
How did you feel when you lost the election?
Not obviously, but I felt disappointed, and many of my associates blamed me for losing the election because I did not work as hard as we did previously, because I put too much confidence in the things that we were doing so effectively and empowering the people and moving the city forward, until I just probably was of the assumption that the people saw what we were doing and was going to re-elect based upon what was being done at the time of our abilities to do things to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Richwood and to grow economically the city and its status.
Okay, now, having served 1 year as the town clerk and 24 years as the mayor, and probably knowing the Lawson Act back and forth, why would you terminate and give severance pay to all the employees of Richwood?
At the time, we were under the impression that we were following the policy manual of the town, and the policy manual was approved by our legal counsel, and the fact that it was adopted by the alderman with an ordinance, and that was our impression, that the fact that it was adopted by ordinance, that was the law of Bridgewood.
But But Mr. Harris,
Yes.
being there for 24 years, how can you misinterpret the Lawson Act and the city ordinance?
Again, we were of the impression, given that the town's attorney had advised us that if in fact, because it was our first attempt to adopt that manual by a resolution, the attorney at that time advised us it was the best to adopt it with an ordinance, and as such, it would become the law of the town of Ridgewood. And that is what we did.
But Mr. Harris, no laws on the books, no ordinance passed would allow you to write checks out knowingly that you're exceeding the amount within the checkbook. The city cannot spend money it does not have.
Mr. Wilson, in due respect, that was not a depletion of monies in the checkbook. Close observation will find that in the preceding administration, had they followed the proper procedure when you change administration, which means that the checking accounts would remain as such. The only thing changed was those who was obligated to sign. It was misunderstood.
Harris,
It
Mr.
was
Harris,
Sir?
Mr. Harris,
Yes, sir.
the bank account was overdrawn by $24,000.
The banking account was not, okay.
Now, Mr. Harris, why did
Yes,
you
sir.
feel it to call all the employees in, tell them that they were being terminated, and give them severance pay?
Again, Mr. Wilson, in all due respect, I did not terminate those employees. Those
Okay.
employees was pre-terminated by the ensuing new mayor, who made them all aware of the fact that he had no intention of re-employing them.
Okay,
And
now,
may I-
Mr. Harris,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harris, my name is Roche, not Wilson.
I'm so sorry. I don't hear well anymore these days. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Mr. O'Shea.
That's all right. Now, Mr. Harris, why, if the new mayor intended to terminate all the employees, why did he inform the state police on his first day when he realized none of the employees had reported to work? He was unaware that you had terminated all the employees.
Again, Mr. O'Shea, in all due respect, upon his entering the office and with him changing the general funds account, as opposed to changing the signatures on the general funds account, it came back with the appearance that the town was broke and there was no funds to address the needs of the town to carry out its business. That was not a factual assumption. And of course, the media jumped on that and that became the big story. But the big issue was he changed the general funds account, not the general funds signatures of the account. Subsequently, the appearance would be that the town was broke.
Mr. Harris, if that is true, and you had an opportunity to explain that at your trial, why did a jury of 12 individuals find you guilty of malfeasance in office?
The effort to explain that was overshadowed by the stories being published by the local media at the time. The story was the fact that the town, number one, was broke. The other additional that carried articles was the fact that I had broken the town and paying myself and paying the employees when they were terminated. In addition of paying the employees, some of the employees had threatened to sue if we had not paid them as well. So that was some pressure in which I was under in that situation. It wasn't a decision made by me individually. It was made by the legislative body at that time. And they the one who thought that after serving 24 years and never taking a vacation, that they were able to try and pay me at least 1 year's vacation. And that is how we got paid, not my decision, but their decision. They came to me and made that offer, made that proposition available to the staff and I.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris,
Yes, sir.
is this the only felony conviction or arrest in your criminal history?
That is true. I never had a run-in with the law. I never had done anything that would cause them to have an interest in me in or my family.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you as well.
Mr. Harris, tell this panel this morning, why are you in need of a pardon with the restoration of firearms?
Why am I in need for being pardoned? I feel that I have served my time. I've served that what the law said I was supposed to serve. I have continued to try and be a public servant, both in my church as well as my community. And in all instances, our record would show that we had served the welfare and we improved the quality of life of our citizens through the development of new houses and new subdivisions, as well as establishing the balancing of the revenues and establishing of tax reoccurring of revenues to support the needs of the citizen. And that is why we feel that I should not be held still accountable for something I really never was guilty of. Even though I was convicted, I know what the law says, and I know that I lost in the court. But I think I've explained that to you as well, that the town was not broke. The stories indicated they were broke. There was a change done with the general funds account and not those who signed on. And as you're probably aware, most businesses do not change their account when they change administration. They change those who are responsible for the signing of that account.
Mr. Harris.
Yes, sir.
So you really didn't answer my question. Why are you needing a pardon? Employment? You plan to run for office again? Why do you need a pardon?
I'm sorry. No. That is not why I am seeking my pardon. I'm seeking my pardon because I have feel the obligation, as I appreciate, that was posed upon me when I was convicted. I am my family and I are both retired. My wife and I are both retired. We have no interest in public office other than participating in our church and just the general welfare of the community that we live in.
So, Mr. Harris, you telling this panel this morning that a jury of 12 individuals found you guilty because they didn't know the complexity of operation of the city of Richwood. You're also telling me that once you were found guilty, the judge did intervene and find you not guilty because he could have done so. Is that correct?
If the judge had, well, first of all, there were not 12 members of the jury. My understanding, there were only 6. And the judge did not find me guilty. It was the jurors who came up with that decision, is my understanding.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you as well.
Mr. Harris, I failed to recognize, do you have Toby Harris there with you?
No, Toby, it's not with me. It's my
Okay.
little daughter-in-law. The daughter-in-law is with me. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I just wanted to recognize that you did have somebody there with you in support.
Thank you very much.
I don't see that we have any other questions by my colleagues. So there is a closing statement you'd like to make briefly?
Other than the fact that I am pretty contented with the fact that my wife is retired from one of the larger hospitals in the area. We both was in the medical profession prior to getting into the politics. I'm now retired from a nursing home in which I was working part-time, as well as I'm a full-time disabled vet at this point, being a Vietnam vet as well. And we are both actively in our church. I now serve as chairman of our deacon board, and I'm honored to have been chosen repeatedly by the congregation to serve in that capacity. And my wife, of course, serves as the one of the first ladies in the church as well. I'm also considered the chair of not the chair, I'm one of the classroom teachers of our Sunday school as well. And those are things that I take interest in now, and that is trying to serve our Lord as we understand the requirements of each of our position in which we serve in our church.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having me.
I think we're ready to vote. We'll start with Mr. Roche.
Thank you very much. You be
Thank
blessed.
you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Harris.
Yes, sir. Thank you as well, sir. Go ahead.
In the information that I read, it stated that you were aware before you paid employees severance pays that you knew that you would overdraw the checkbook if all the checks were cashed at the same time. So you were aware of exactly what you were doing, which I think is a betrayal of public trust. You don't really take responsibility for what you did. And law enforcement in your jurisdiction is opposed to any clemency in this case. For those reasons, I'm going to deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Malbella.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Sir, it seems to me that the only reason you're asking for a pardon, and I've read all of your information, is that you believe you were unfairly convicted, the jury was rigged, and you want us to say you were wrongfully convicted. And I'm unwilling to do that. I mean, you have shown no remorse whatsoever. And I can understand, even if you made mistakes back then and you thought the law was one way, it seems to me that you would have come to grips with the fact that jury and a judge all agreed that you were guilty of this. But you continue to fight and say you were wrongly convicted, and there's no other need for your pardon except that you will be able to say you were wrongly convicted. I'm just unwilling to grant a pardon based upon that, with your lack of remorse for what you did. So that my vote would likewise be to deny.
Ms. Jackson.
Hi, Mr. Harris. I've also viewed your case, and it appears to me that your feelings were hurt because you didn't get reelected. And I think your actions were sort of vindictive. You wanted the incoming mayor to be put in a difficult situation. So you terminated all of the employees and you gave them all severance pay and you paid yourself. And that just seems to me that you did that because your feelings were hurt, that you didn't get reelected, and you want to make it hard on the fellow that was coming in after you. And as Mr. Marabella has indicated, you've not accepted any responsibility for that. You maybe are in denial to some extent. But our job is not to undo what a court has done, to vindicate you when you went through the legal process. If there was a legal error in the jury's verdict because it was contrary to the law and the evidence, the judge had the opportunity to set that conviction aside. But he or she did not choose to do that. And so today, I'm going to concur with my colleagues. I think you can continue to serve in your church, you can continue to serve your community without having pardon. So my vote today would be to deny your request for a recommendation to the government pardon.
Mr. Harris, and I do agree with everything that's been said. My vote today too would be to deny. So today, sir, your application for clemency has been denied. Good luck to you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, this case, you just couldn't believe it if you didn't see it. You know, it's funny. Richard provided the research. He's trying to get this expunged because he is still not given up on becoming mayor again. We'll go through the track records of it. I mean, it is absolutely insane to the length that this man is going. Just one example. This hearing took place on March 21st, 2022. 2 months later, let me show you this if you want to see just how corrupt this is. Senator Katrina Jackson actually tried to pass a bill. This is a senator in Louisiana. Why she would try to do this, I don't know. But here's what it says. If the bill sponsored by Senator Katrina Jackson becomes law, it could finally close the file on a wrongful conviction that wrongfully ended the political career of former Richwood mayor. Jackson is sponsoring SB 334, which will eliminate the crime of attempted malfeasance in office and allow anyone who was convicted of the crime to have their conviction set aside and records expunged. So keep this in mind. He went to the pardon and parole boards to get his record expunged, was denied, and got a senator to sponsor a bill that would allow him to run for office and make his crime. Are you kidding me? You want to see corruption and rob? This is a state senator. A state senator sponsored a bill. Can someone please investigate this? What? You have no shame. I mean, we have covered a lot of rot and corruption in Louisiana. Nothing against you, Louisiana. It's probably under every state if we were to have access to it, which is the beauty of having these public meetings, which is what they are. These are not court hearings. These pardon and parole hearings are public meetings, and they're public meetings for a reason. It's only the idea that they're played on YouTube, which gives the public actual access to the whole entire reason why they were made public to begin with, so that we can see this rot, so that we can see this blatant corruption. Of course, the bill wasn't passed. But that's sick. Wow. You know what else is sick? You know, he didn't serve 1 day in prison for his crimes. Look at the list of how long his set of crimes are. This is, you know, like they said, right? So he lost the election after 25 years. Now, this is a very small town in Louisiana. They had 7,808 registered voters. So it's a tiny, tiny town. It's like a police department of, I think, like 6 people. But he loses, throws a tantrum. He depletes the coffers of the city, taxpayer dollars, overdraws by $65,000, fires the staff, gives everyone severance. Here's the list of offenses. It goes on and on. Each bullet point, on and on and on and on. Oh, it keeps going. I gotta keep scrolling. My finger is beginning to ache. I mean, then he after he depletes and gives himself, you even heard him, right? You heard him. I didn't take a vacation in 25 years, so of course I deserved a vacation, a paid vacation. It's like you just lost your election. You're going on a forced vacation. No, you can't go back in the past and say, let me give myself a year severance check. He didn't get 1 day that he had to serve in jail. Not 1 day. Who can do that where they deplete the coffers, they fire an entire staff, they give everyone severance, including themselves? He paid himself, according to this, he paid himself $65,360, which he was ordered to repay. Actually, no, it says in this article $90,000 he paid himself, and he only had to repay 65. Who knows why? um, it's unreal. Why wouldn't he serve prison time for that? Why wouldn't they throw the book at him? And not only that, but then he gets a senator. He gets a senator to write a bill that would make it so that everything was illegal. Then he shows up to his, just talk about the callousness or the hubris or the narcissism of this man. He shows up to his pardon hearing and takes it in his car. I mean, you don't have decent respect to take it in a room? He takes it in his car. He's wearing not a suit and tie. Remember, he was the mayor. Not a, he doesn't even take the time to show that he had researched who's on the board of pardons. He's calling Mr. O'Shea Mr. Wilson. Really? Mr. Wilson? You couldn't have picked a Mr. Wilson. Oh man, I just there's quite a lot. He keeps trying to run for mayor. Here's something that you could see.
Headquarters in the race for Richwood mayor is no longer a close one. Contender and former mayor Edward Harris was disqualified.
NBC 10's Chelsea Jones explains what happened and what's next now for the town. Chelsea?
Bodie, the district attorney, says as a convicted felon, Harris was ineligible to run for office until 2021. We did reach out to him. He declined to comment, but he did congratulate Mayor Brown. The mayor says this next term is about continuing everything he's been able to do in the first. For over 20 years, Edward Harris was the mayor of the town of Richwood, and he wanted to take a stab at it for another 4 years. But he's been disqualified from the 2020 Richwood mayor's race. As a convicted felon, Harris has to wait 5 years to be eligible for office. That's not until 2021. Current Mayor Gerald Brown is now running unopposed and will automatically serve another 4 years. Here's what he said about the first 4.
Certainly was a learning experience on how to go about.
Unopposed. You know, it's like this little town with there's not even anyone running for office, and it's just quite funny. Now I guess the question that we have is why he needed the expungement. They said he only needed to wait a little bit more time. And that's a good question, actually. Let me see. You know, it's not clear to me, and I actually have to go in 4 minutes. It's not clear to me if he is allowed to rerun. I mean, if the time is expired or if there's something else that came up. But it's just think about what we just saw. Just to recap it. This man who's serving for 25 years loses an election, throws a tantrum, fires the entire staff, pays everyone's severance, including himself. The new mayor shows up and no one is there. He goes to court, is found guilty, which is clear that the guy, I mean, what he did was illegal and unethical and all, but just illegal. For some reason, he doesn't serve a day in jail. He then shows up to his pardon hearing, takes it in his car, calls the parole board members the wrong names, denies everything, saying that everything was, you know, the court proceedings are wrong, everything was wrong, he's innocent, he did nothing wrong. I mean, justifies saying, yeah, I paid myself a vacation. I didn't take a vacation. I paid myself a year. Yeah, everyone had to, this and that, making... the 3 months after he loses, he doesn't get his appeal. A state senator tries to pass a bill that would allow him to run, and you can't make it up. And this is why we do this. Thank you, Richard, for providing the information. Man, wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it, but you did. And with that, I'll let you go.